5 stages. That's all it takes to drain a nation. Not in a day, not in a year, over decades. So slowly that nobody notices until it's done. France followed these 5 stages. Then Spain, then Britain. Taxation, inflation, debt, seizure, collapse. Same order, same outcome, every single time. And right now, the United States is at stage 4. If you pay taxes, hold savings, or carry any debt. This pattern is about you. What you're about to see is not ancient history. It's a blueprint, a 5-step process that every major power has followed, knowingly or not, to extract wealth from ordinary people and concentrate it at the top. And every time it happened, citizens were told the same thing. The economy is strong, the debt is manageable. This time is different. It was never different. By the end of this video, you won't just understand history, you'll recognize what's happening to your money right now. Today, this year. In the 1700s, France was the richest nation in Europe. Versailles was the most expensive building on earth. The French army was the largest in the world. But here's who paid for all of it. Not the king, not the nobles, not the church. You. Well, the French version of you. The farmer, the baker, the merchant, the worker. The third estate, ordinary citizens, paid virtually all the taxes. The taille, the gabelle, the vingtième, tax on land, tax on salt, tax on income. The nobility, exempt. The church, exempt. 98% of the population funded a system designed for the other 2%. Does that ratio feel familiar? By the late 1700s, France was spending more than it earned. Way more. So the revolutionary government invented a new currency, the assignat, backed by confiscated church land. Sounds solid, right? Land-backed money? Within 5 years, they printed so many assignats that a loaf of bread cost what a horse used to. Imagine your savings account. Now imagine it losing 99% of its value. Not over a lifetime, in 5 years. That's what inflation does when governments print their way out of debt. The money in your pocket becomes paper, literally. But the printing started because of debt. France had borrowed massively to fund wars, especially the American Revolution. Yes, France helped America win its independence, and it bankrupted them. By 1789, France was spending more than half its annual revenue just on interest payments. Not on roads, not on hospitals, not on people. Just interest. Half of every tax dollar gone before it did anything for anyone. King Louis XVI was so desperate he called the Estates General, a parliament that hadn't met in 175 years. That's how broke France was. The king had to ask permission to raise taxes from people who were already starving. When asking didn't work, they took. The revolutionary government confiscated all church property, every cathedral, every monastery, every acre of church land. Then they seized aristocratic estates. Then they froze prices. Then they controlled wages. If you charged more than the government allowed, you went to prison. Or worse. This wasn't revolution for the people. This was stage 4. Seizure with a different name. The guillotine. The terror. 40,000 executed. A currency worth nothing. An economy in ruins. France didn't collapse because of bad luck. It collapsed because it followed the same 5 stages that every empire follows. Taxation of the many, inflation of the currency, debt beyond repayment, seizure of private wealth, and then the fall. The question is, did anyone learn from it? No, they didn't. Because 30 years later across the ocean, Spain did the exact same thing. In 1492, Spain discovered the Americas. Gold and silver flooded into Seville. More treasure than any European nation had ever seen. You'd think that would make Spain untouchable. It did the opposite. Stage 1. Spain taxed its colonies without mercy. Every mine, every plantation, every shipment. The crown took its cut. Stage 2. All that gold caused prices to quadruple. Workers couldn't buy bread. The gold made Spain rich on paper and poor in reality. Stage 3. Despite all the treasure, Spain borrowed heavily. King Philip II spent faster than the gold ships arrived. Spain declared bankruptcy. Not once, but 4 times. 1557, 1560, 1575, 1596. 4 times. The richest nation on earth. Bankrupt. Stage 4. The crown seized private gold shipments. Confiscated merchant assets. Forced loans that were never repaid. Stage 5. By 1600, Spain was hollow. The empire lingered for 2 more centuries, but the wealth was gone. Every ounce. Extracted. Think about that. Unlimited gold. And it still wasn't enough. Because the pattern doesn't care how much you have. It only cares how much you spend. Now, Britain. The British Empire was smarter. It didn't dig for gold. It built machines. At its peak, Britain controlled a quarter of the world's land. 400 million people. But smart empires still follow the pattern. They just hide it better. Stage 1. Income tax. Invented in 1799 to fight Napoleon. Supposed to be temporary, never repealed. Temporary income tax, 227 years and counting. Sound familiar? Temporary taxes that become permanent? Stage 2. 2 world wars. Both funded by printing money. British savings lost half their value between 1940 and 1950. If your grandparents saved money before the war, it bought half as much after. They worked the same hours. They just got less for it. That's how inflation steals. Silently. Stage 3. By 1945, Britain owed $31 billion, mostly to America. That's $525 billion in today's money. Britain won the war and lost its economy. Stage 4. Tax rates hit 95%. The government nationalized industries, controlled prices, froze wages. Private wealth was redirected to pay public debt. Stage 5. In 1976, Britain went to the IMF for a bailout. The empire that once ruled the world needed a loan to keep the lights on. 5 stages. Same order. Same ending. 3 empires, 3 collapses, 5 stages every time. The citizens were always told it was under control. The debt was always called manageable. The inflation was always called temporary. Now look at the country you live in. And count the stages. For 137 years, Americans paid no income tax? 0. From 1776 to 1913? Nothing. Then, in 1913, 2 things happened in the same year. The Federal Reserve was created, and income tax became permanent. Not a coincidence. The system needed a feeding tube. Income tax was it. Today, the average American works from January through April just to cover taxes. Federal, state, property, sales, capital gains, payroll, estate tax when you die, gift tax when you give, 4 months of your life, every year, before you keep a single dollar. And here's what nobody tells you. The top 1% pay a lower effective tax rate than their secretaries. Warren Buffett said that himself. The system isn't designed to tax the wealthy. It's designed to tax people who earn a salary. People who trade hours for dollars. People like you. That's stage 1. And you've been in it your entire life. You just never had a name for it. Now, stage 2, inflation. $1 in 1913 is worth 4 cents today. Let that sink in, not 50 cents. Not a quarter, 4 cents. 96% of its value, gone. Your grandparents bought a house for $15,000. Your parents paid $150,000. You're looking at $450,000 for the same house, same walls, same street, same leaky faucet. That's not the house getting more expensive. That's your money getting weaker. Every year, on purpose. The Federal Reserve has a target, 2% inflation per year. That sounds small, harmless, responsible even. But 2% per year means your money loses half its value every 36 years. That's 1 working lifetime. Think about that. You spend your entire career earning money. And by the time you retire, every dollar you saved buys half as much. You didn't spend it. You didn't waste it. It was taken from you. 2% at a time. And they call that instability. Now, let me show you what this looks like in real life. In 1970, the median household income was $9,870. A house cost $23,000. A new car, $3,500. A year of college, $1,200. Today, median income is $75,000. Sounds like we're richer, right? But a house costs $420,000. A car, $48,000. A year of college, $26,000. Income went up 7x. Housing went up 18x. College went up 21x. You're not falling behind because you're lazy. You're falling behind because the math is rigged. The prices rise faster than your paycheck. Every year. Every decade. By design. That's stage 2. And you feel it every time you check your bank account. Stage 3. Debt. The national debt just passed $36 trillion. Let me put that in perspective. If you stacked 36 trillion $1 bills, the pile would reach the moon. And back. 47 times. It took America 200 years to reach 1 trillion in debt. From 1776 to 1981. 2 centuries. Now it adds 1 trillion every 100 days. Every 100 days. But here's the number that should genuinely scare you. The interest payment alone costs $1.1 trillion per year. Not paying down the debt. Not reducing it. Just the interest. The minimum payment. That's more than the entire military budget. More than Medicare. More than every school, every road, every bridge in America combined. Your taxes don't build your country anymore. They service a debt that can never be repaid. That's not an opinion. That's the math. No economist, left or right, believes this debt will ever be paid off. And where does the interest go? To the holders of government bonds, banks, institutional investors, foreign governments, the people who lend money to America at interest. Sound familiar? It should. It's the same system the Bank of England set up in 1694, the same system we showed you in our last video. The government borrows. The people pay interest. The lenders get richer. The cycle repeats. For centuries, that's stage 3. And it's accelerating. Now, stage 4. This is where it gets personal. Stage 4 is seizure. And in 2026, seizure doesn't look like soldiers at your door. It doesn't look like confiscated estates. It's quieter than that. Much quieter. Let's start with something most Americans have never heard of. Civil asset forfeiture. Between 2000 and 2019, the United States government seized $68 billion from its own citizens. Not from convicted criminals. From citizens, without charges, without a trial, without a conviction. Your car, your cash, your house, taken. Because the government suspected, not proved, suspected, that it might be connected to a crime. $68 billion taken from people who were never found guilty of anything. In the land of the free. But seizure in 2026 goes far beyond forfeiture. Unrealized gains taxes. The government is proposing to tax you on money you haven't even made yet. Not on income. Not on profit. On the theoretical value of assets you still hold. Your house went up on paper? That's taxable. Your retirement fund grew? That's taxable. You haven't sold anything. You haven't gained a dollar. But you owe taxes on money that doesn't exist yet. The French aristocracy would recognize this immediately. This is exactly what happened before the Revolution. When the government can't collect enough from what you earn, it starts collecting from what you own. Bank surveillance. Every transaction over $600 is reported to the IRS. Not $60,000. Not $6,000. $600? Your bank account is not private. It is a government monitoring tool. And if you think your retirement is safe, think again. In 2012, Argentina seized private pension funds. In 2013, Cyprus took 47% of all bank deposits over 100,000 euros. Overnight. No vote, no warning. Those aren't third world countries. Argentina was the 5th largest economy in the world. Cyprus is in the European Union. When the debt gets big enough, governments take. They always have. They always will. You know what the French called this? Revolution. The Americans call it compliance. Stage 4 doesn't come with a warning. It comes with a form and a penalty for not filling it out. France, Spain, Britain, America, 4 nations. Same 5 stages. Same sequence. 3 already collapsed. 1 is at stage 4. So what does stage 5 look like for America? For France, it was the guillotine. For Spain, it was 4 bankruptcies. For Britain, it was the IMF bailout. For America, it will probably be the dollar. The US dollar has been the world's reserve currency since 1944, 82 years. Every reserve currency before it has died. The Portuguese real lasted 80 years. The Spanish dollar, 110. The Dutch guilder, 80. The French franc, 95. The British pound, 105. The average lifespan of a reserve currency is 94 years. The dollar is at 82. And the cracks are already showing. BRICS nations, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, are actively building an alternative financial system. China now settles oil trades in yuan. Saudi Arabia is accepting payment in currencies other than dollars for the first time in 50 years. Central banks around the world are hoarding gold at the fastest rate since 1967. Why would they buy gold if they trusted the dollar? Nobody is announcing the end of the dollar. That's not how it works. Reserve currencies don't die with a bang. They die quietly, with 1,000 small decisions. Countries moving their reserves, trade deals signed in other currencies, gold purchases that speak louder than press conferences. And when it happens, when the dollar loses its reserve status, everything changes. Your savings? Worth less. Your retirement? Buys less. Your mortgage? Still owed. But your income? Buys half as much. Ask the British. In 1945, the pound was the world's reserve. By 1976, Britain needed a bailout. 31 years. That's how fast it can happen. 5 stages, 3 centuries, 4 nations. The pattern doesn't care who's president. It doesn't care about your politics. It doesn't care whether you vote red or blue. It only follows the math. And the math has never, not once in 300 years, been wrong. The only question left is, are you at stage 4? Or has stage 5 already begun? Corral,